In today's episode, we make a Grand Emerald trading hall. It comes complete with a variety of functions to automate the villager process. First is, it has to look magnificent. Next up, I want 128 villagers, so this build is going to be humongous. I also want to be able to keep villagers in minecarts so I can move them on command in one of 8 zones. Then I want to be able to have a way for them to be sent to an ethical murder chamber, and also have a way to negotiate prices. This should all be done automatically with a click of a button, so let's get cracking. So I'll start by flattening this 128 by 128 plot of land. Okay, I'm starting to regret making it this big. That's everything flattened out now. It's all looking good. It took quite a bit of time, so I'm actually going to go head to bed now. Okay, it's a new day, feeling refreshed. I think I should start by mapping out the outline for this build. That's looking pretty good for the general structure of the build. These sections inside are for the 8 zones that I talked about before. Each zone will have 16 villages, so we should be set on housing villages. I tried making the shape of the build as blocky as possible, which led to this weird shape here, but I think it turned out pretty well. But now it's time for the redstone. So this is how a villager pod will look like. I've made the design from scratch, but I feel like there would be a lot of tutorials online that look similar to this. Anyway, it works by having a villager come from this direction and turn into this pod here. The villager will trip this tripwire, which will cause this railway to switch, meaning that the next villager that comes by will keep going straight. The light above will also turn on, indicating that this pod is being occupied. When the villagers here, they will be in a minecart on this block and we'll be able to do their trades like normal. And if we ever want to send them off to kind of a kill chamber or to a zombification area, we can flip this note block, which will cause them to drop down at here. It will also reset the module by turning off that light. And all this stuff works just by having a latch with an item inside over there. But once they fall down here, they go into this kind of a one-way railway system. So if I kind of show you, if they drop down here, they kind of go down. But now we're going to build this 127 more times. The amount of redstone this build took was kind of crazy. I think I used roughly a total of 2 shulker boxes of redstone blocks. It took quite a bit of time to mine all of that, which is why this episode is a bit late. But I'm hoping that these villages will help a bit with that in the future, since clerics sell redstone. That is all 8 zones completed now, so what I think I want to do next is to dig a big hole in the middle here so I can snuggle up all my redstone and hide it underground for the villager assignment area, where I get to decide what happens to villagers once they come in from the villager breeder. I've built a pretty good looking hole, so let's get onto designing the villager assignment area. I was thinking we have a control panel somewhere over here that uses a selector to perform various functions. Next to this, I kind of want a lectern with probably a book here to select which zone we want to send the villager to. So in the future, I'll have probably like 8 pages in this lectern, and depending on which page you select, it will send the villager to that zone. On this side over here, I'm thinking maybe a villager breeder, and on the other 2 sides over here, I'm thinking a temporary villager storage, so we can kind of trade with them and get the best trades possible before sending them off to a zone or just to be killed. After a couple hours of placing redstone, I've finished all the functionalities that I wanted. course, this isn't the final look of the build. This is just to get it working first. I guess we can start with the villager breeder over here. This is a basic design that can be found anywhere, so it's nothing special, but I have a lever that blocks the path that leads to the beds to turn it off over here. Next to this is how we get new villagers into the system. The minecarts go in here. Activating the note block here sends a minecart that picks up the villager and stores it to the next available temp storage, which is over here. So this is all temp storage here. We have 11 slots. On the other end over here is the action selector. This lets me choose what to do with the villagers. For instance, if I want to send the villager to be zombified, I can select the yellow option here. Then if I go back to the villager storage and send them off by clicking this note block, they get dropped down. They'll be taken over here to be zombified by the zombie that's hiding over there. And once they're zombified, we can send them off to the zombie storage, which is right next to it over here. And here we can cure up to 3 zombies at a time. Then if we activate this, we can send them off for further trades. And it just takes them back to the temp storage. But yeah, you can pretend this is a cured zombie. I just don't want to cure this one. Another function we can do is to actually euthanize the zombies. So if I select the red option over here and I send the zombie off like so, they end up popping out over here where they kind of get burnt to death. And the minecart kind of gets recycled. It gets taken around and hits that cactus and gets sent back into this minecart over here. The next option is the green option, which is the ability to send a villager to a zone. So remember how I've been talking about 1 of 8 zones? We can select a zone over here. So you can select it using a lectern. So let's say we want to go to zone 1 and I want to send them to zone 1. So and if we fly up here, so this is zone 1, and you can see they come over here and they get sent. Now that we have it here, it's kind of in our zone, and this is kind of like a more permanent storage solution. However, if we want to send it back to the center, we can just click this and they'll take them back. And there we go. So that's basically everything there. I can quickly show you the redstone. So I guess the first thing I should show you is this selector over here. It works basically. This is a selector I found online. I don't remember where I got it from, but it was in an old single player Redstone world, so I just copied it from there. And it works by when you trigger one of the note blocks, it sends a signal through here and it will only output one of these. And each of these will toggle a minecart rail. So for example, if they toggle this row here, this will send the villager to, I believe, the zombification. And this one here will take them to be ejected into the lava. You can see here when it comes through here, they trigger this activator rail, and then the minecart gets sent all the way around to the cactus to be reused and recycled. And then I'll quickly show you the multi-select zone for using the lectern. It's based on the comparator over here and signal strength. So I've kind of designed my own lectern selection system here. So if you notice here, the output is every second block, and the first page doesn't do anything. And that's mainly because I want the first page to just have a bunch of info about how to use this selector. Anyway, once they select the zone, let's say for example, I think this is zone number 7, it gets outputted over here and it will toggle this track. But yeah, that's the gist of everything. The final thing I should mention is this blue option here, which is just to send the villagers upstairs so we can use them elsewhere outside of this whole system. But I haven't really finished this functionality yet because I haven't really made the building, so I have no clue where to route them yet. But that's all the redstone done and dusted. So let's move on to actually designing the build for this. So the block palette I chose for this build was dark oak wood and cut sandstone. Moving on, I started to build the first layer of the build. But that's when I realized how massive this build was going to end up. I struggled to think how I was going to build the roof, simply because of how flat and boring it could turn out. In the end, I decided to build up and slowly move inward, similar to a pyramid, to give it more depth. Around this time, I had a eureka moment. I built these weird looking towers and then added these mysterious floating crystals over it. I loved how they turned out. It kind of gave the build a very magical look. But my god, did they take forever to build. Like, after the 8th one, I had to take a break because it was just too much. At this point, the next layer was built. I made it pretty tall, but I did that because I wanted to fit a massive emerald on each side. Anyway, I finalized the roof and closed it off entirely. As you can see from the footprint above, it looked epic. At least I found it epic. The next detail I added was the emerald. I just yoinked a pixel art of the emerald from Google. It really fits the theme of the villager trading hall. The fact that when you look at the build and you can understand what it's for makes it just so much better. The next addition was a green sphere in the center. I built it using a Minecraft sphere generator. It's just a website that shows you what blocks to build for each layer of the sphere. Pretty handy. That's the whole structure of the building finalized, but at this point the building was looking a bit plain with the mono-colored walls. So the next thing I needed to add was details. I added some windows and some random patterns to make it pop, and also added lighting so that the build wasn't too dark at nighttime. We are still not done though, I still have to decorate inside. For the floor, I opted to trying a grand and fancy vibe. The floor is made with eco-friendly wood veneers reinforced with galvanized steel plates. The pattern resembles a layered flower blossoming out from the center, which in my opinion was the best option for this build. And yes, the bottom section is off by 1 block, but I couldn't fix it because it required all my redstone downstairs to be shifted, so I just left it as is. That's everything built. As I mentioned before, sorry for the late upload this time. There was a lot of stuff that needed to be done off camera to even begin this project, but I'm happy it's all done now. You can already see when compared to my other buildings, the size of the villager trading hall is 4 to 5 times bigger. But anyway, let's give a bit of a tour. This is how the entrance to the villager hall looks. If you're wondering how I keep zombies away, I have these carpets here placed on signs. By doing this, zombies think that there's a hole so they never cross. I tried my best on lighting up the inside. I didn't do too well on the roof, but I think the actual villager pods worked out pretty well. For the center, this is how it looks. It's all nice and clean now when compared to before. For the zone selection lectern, I updated the book to be a little bit more user-friendly. Like when you scroll through each page, you can see which one is selected and which ones are available. There are also some extra information at the bottom of each page. Anyway, in terms of filling up the villager hall with villagers, I'll probably do that off camera between this episode and the next episode. But please leave a like and subscribe to show some support so I can put more time into making these videos. Also, thanks for all the suggestions from the last episode. Those building ideas are all on my bucket list. But that's all for today. I will catch you next time. If you like this video, feel free to check out this one as well.